So I'm going to open up this presentation here, minimize this. So my name is Sarah Shalash, and I am the US based recruiter for the American University in Cairo. We refer to it as AUC, and AUC is an exchange partner with Georgia Tech. I will be walking you through a presentation about studying abroad at AUC for a semester, summer, or full academic year. AUC was founded in Egypt 100 years ago by Americans devoted to education and service in the Middle East. And for almost that long, we've been welcoming American students on our campus. AUC is based on an American model. All of our programs are accredited in the US, and all courses, except for the Arabic program, are taught in English. That also means that our academic calendar, course syllabi, grading system, they will all look familiar to you. Even though we are an American-style university, our students do come from Egypt and from more than 50 other countries. We teach in English, but all of our courses offer a very global perspective. So to start out, why should you study abroad at AUC? The first reason is the wide range of academic disciplines you can pursue. Just like at Georgia Tech, you can select courses from across our different colleges based on availability and prerequisites. And because we are US accredited, it is much easier to get credit for the courses you take at AUC. These could be a mix of requirements for your major, potentially, unique electives, or just gen ed requirements. We also offer optional Arabic courses from the absolute beginner level to advanced. So you could improve or get started on an entirely new language. And we also offer an intensive Arabic program, and I can tell you more about that if you are interested. So I've just listed a couple of our popular programs here. Students often think about AUC and Egypt as a place where you can only study Middle Eastern studies, Arabic, or Islamic studies. But as I mentioned, we offer a whole host of disciplines. So I've just highlighted a few of our really strong programs that you may not immediately associate with the region. And I've listed some sample courses here. So skipping ahead, why else should you study abroad at AUC? Well, you're going to be directly enrolled in our university for the semester, so you have access to our renowned faculty in several different fields. You have opportunities to do your own research and potentially even publish, and even hold mini internships throughout the semester. So who might you be learning from at AUC? Our faculty come from all over the world. These are just three of them. You have here Hassan Azazi, he's the head of our chemistry department. He has now become world famous for his work to detect hepatitis C. Salima Ikram in the middle, if you've ever seen kind of a Netflix special about ancient Egypt, she's likely the person kind of touring around with Morgan Freeman or whomever and going into different tombs. She takes students on digs. And Rabab al-Mahdi on the right, she is the head of our political science department and very active in Egypt's civil society. Another reason AUC is unique as a study abroad destination is the kind of type of cultural integration you'll get while you're abroad. You take classes, you live with, and you join clubs with Egyptian peers. So, many other study abroad providers are great at accommodating international students, but sometimes you kind of become isolated with other foreigners. At AUC, you really have the opportunity to build relationships with Egyptians and global peers your age. And where are you going to be doing all of this? So Cairo is one of the oldest and most exciting cities. It's a city of 20 million people, the largest in the region and one of the largest in Africa. It has always been, kind of a cultural crossroads with influences from the continent, from Europe, and from Asia. And, in one day, you can probably see 7,000-year-old history and visit, a modern art gallery or go to a concert. It's very easy to travel around Egypt as a study abroad student. You have convenient access to flights and trains to see other parts of the country, whether you want to spend the weekend, scuba diving in the Red Sea, camping in the desert, or touring ancient temples. Egypt kind of has it all. And in addition to traveling with new friends you make, many of our courses do involve field trips and cultural excursions to get you into the community and see firsthand what you're learning about in the classroom. All of the street signs in Cairo are in English and Arabic, and Egyptians are notoriously friendly and willing to help. Our students take Uber and travel in groups to get around. There'll always be people who are willing to support you. AUC actually has two campuses. The original one is downtown in Tahrir Square, which you may remember hearing about in the Arab Spring. It hosts cultural events and has our intensive Arabic program during the semester. But our main campus is about a 45-minute drive from downtown and is only 10 years old. So it's really state of the art. And once you're on our campus, you have so many ways of kind of continuing your college experience, but with a totally different group of people and in a totally new place. We have competitive and intramural athletics, tons of community service opportunities, and over 60 clubs, ranging from Model United Nations, which is award-winning, our Cairo United Nations, to anything to the astronomy club. You really have it all. That's a really great way of meeting your Egyptian peers and getting involved in the community. And AUC on its campus offers housing options, where you could also select to live with a native Arabic speaker if you're really trying to improve language. We also have a dedicated Office of Student Life. They're going to be your main contacts once you're on campus. The Office of Student Life helps right from the beginning, even with airport arrival, visa support, and on-site orientation. And they serve as emergency contacts throughout the semester. We also have a Center for Student Wellbeing that offers counseling. We have an incredible gym, an on-campus clinic, 24/7 library. So you have all of the amenities you might need that are all accessible in English on campus. AUC does not have a meal plan, but there are several eateries on campus and right around campus. So you have lots of options. I also wanted to include scholarships on here. So we are an exchange program, which does make this an affordable option for you. But I do recommend first checking in with the Study Abroad office to learn about any other opportunities for scholarships or financial support. AUC does also offer scholarships in particular fields and then also generally, no matter what field you're in. So I have a link here, but your Study Abroad office will have more information about that. And basically how to apply. First step to check in with your Study Abroad office. Once you are nominated for an exchange with AUC, you'll just have to then fill out our own application, and then it's pretty straightforward from there. And I will share this presentation, so you will have all of these links to our socials. And like I mentioned, I am based in the US, so I'm an easy phone call away, and I can also stay in touch via email. I studied abroad at AUC myself many years ago, and very familiar with both campuses, so I'm happy to share more. Thank you. Okay, so I've stopped sharing. And close that. Kind of rushed through that a little bit, but if you have kind of any initial reactions to that, Daniel, please let me know, or any kind of, where are you in the process?
Yeah, so I'm a first year, and this is my first semester, definitely. I'm actually a mechanical engineering major, so like, and I'm part of the international plan. So like, one of the requirements of that is you have to study abroad for 26 weeks, and like the language proficiency that I'm hoping to like earn that designation in is in Arabic. So I've like started my first semester of it and stuff. So I was hoping to go to a university in the Middle East. I talked to the mechanical engineering representative on the IP board, and he was saying that not a lot of ME majors have gone to the Middle East just because of like classes and stuff. And I talked to Miss Sandstrom yesterday about that. She was like saying like, just because other people haven't doesn't mean you can't, because I'm already planning to fulfill some humanities requirements. So I was wanting to like go abroad, but also like if possible, take engineering credits, or at least like a mix of engineering credits, and then like whatever else I could take. I think I have to take up to like the 2002 Arabic level. So if I went like my sophomore year, I could probably still take more classes, more language classes there. I just basically, my words is I didn't want to like go abroad and not be able to transfer credits over.
That makes sense. And just hearing you, that sounds like a perfect fit for AUC, because We do offer obviously everything in the humanities, but then also a US accredited engineering program. So
Okay.
we do have a lot of engineering students. They may not be people who've come from Georgia Tech necessarily, but we've had them from several different institutions across the
Okay.
US.
Yeah.
And mechanical engineering is a popular one. So the only difference between our program and your program is that ours is currently 5 years. That doesn't mean that it's not going to match up at all, but it does mean that we have to look at the courses and look at your academic plan and just make sure that some of them align.
Yeah.
What we can do for you is actually give you a syllabus ahead of time. You can go through that with your ME advisors and kind of check off and make sure that it's going to be the right fit. But the classes, especially if you're thinking about maybe going sophomore year, the foundational courses are going to be very similar because we are
Okay.
offering a full US engineering degree. It's going to
Okay.
look
Sweet.
course. So that's great. That's number one. So hopefully we'll be able to find maybe one, maybe two classes in mechanical engineering, and those are going to be taught in English.
Right.
You'll be in class primarily with Egyptian students. So we're going to have fewer study abroad students in those classes, but that's a really cool experience and a great way for you to make Egyptian friends.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then additionally, you can take a mix of classes. So you can do English, engineering classes, maybe something in the humanities, a psychology class, biology, arts. We have an incredible theater program. So there are lots of ways you could kind of explore. And then you can take one or more Arabic classes. And those are just based on a placement exam. So you don't have to have anything going in. It's nice that you've already started, which is great. But you'll be able to take a level based on where you fit in. And do you know which textbook you're using? Is it Al-Kitab?
Since I think we're supposed to be moving to that one, but right now we're using the Alif Ba book.
Okay, great. They're part of a series. They're actually
Right.
written by a former AUC professor.
Oh,
So our university also uses that textbook series, which is great. So
okay.
usually we're used to American students coming with that background and can usually fit you into a level so that when you go back, you can actually continue.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about that, but usually students maybe take one or two of them alongside their other content courses. So that's really great. The other part of us being a partner with Georgia Tech also means that they've kind of vetted us so that they know our programs are accredited. We are in English, so it should be easier to get your credits transferred, and we'll help you with that. But you've started early, which is great, and I'm so happy. What was the interest in the Middle East or in Arabic specifically?
So like when I was like going through the process of like, I mean, I was already interested. I wanted to study abroad. I've only been like out of the country twice, and it was like both in the past 2 years. So it was pretty recently, but it was like something I really enjoyed. And then like I've always just kind of been like interested in the Middle East just from like general like hearing about it, but then I also like reading books and stuff. And like I thought like the language was like really cool, and I was like, I'm going to college. I want something that like is going to be helpful, but also that I'm interested in. So like I was like, it's a really good mix of the two.
Yeah,
So.
definitely. And the good thing about being in Egypt, so you can take, you can decide to take modern standard Arabic, which is what you're already doing. You can continue that. You could also add in an Egyptian dialect, like colloquial class. And the good thing, the advantage of learning Egyptian Arabic is that it's the most widely understood in the region, actually in the entire Arab world. So if you learn that and you travel to Morocco or Lebanon or anywhere else in the future, they will understand you. You will maybe have a little hard time understanding them, but they will understand you.
Yeah.
That's a really nice kind of base of a colloquial dialect to have. The Egyptian is so well known because our cinema and film industry was exported all around the Arab world. So it's a really great dialect for you to also pick up, but you don't have to. You could stay with just modern standard. We also offer like a survival Arabic class. It's the first 5 days of orientation. It's the Egyptian dialect. It's a small extra cost, but it might be worth it to you just to pick up some phrases because it will sound considerably different than the modern standard that you're used to. So that could be a nice way to just, figure out how to feel more comfortable, hailing a cab or picking up a sandwich or whatever it is. But you have that option. You don't have to make that decision yet. You can actually decide and pay once you arrive. So we can talk about that. But it's a great place for you to pick up a new language, especially if you're in mechanical engineering classes and you meet Egyptian students your age. They're going to want to teach you plenty. So you'll have lots of opportunities. And if you live in our housing, you'll also have the opportunity to potentially live Egyptian students and other Arabs from the region. We have a lot of students from the Gulf and even from Syria and Lebanon. So you'll meet all sorts of people from the Middle East who can tell you about all the other places you might not even get to yet on this trip. But this sounds like a really great fit for you.
Yeah, our professor, I mean, my professor for Arabic, he's actually repeated what you said about like Fusnaf versus like Egyptian and stuff. So like he's been really saying like, because in the book it's like Levantine and Egyptian and then like formal. So he's been like, because I think he like knows Egyptian really well, or Egyptian like spoken in Arabic, and so he's said the same stuff. So we've been kind of doing like half and half essentially.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And yet there are a lot of more programs in the US now that have Egyptian. So you're going to find that other international students who come to AUC are going to have a mix of dialect, but more and more of them have already started Egyptian. And so they can help you with some of the learning. What makes our Arabic program pretty unique in the region is that we also have the only masters in teaching Arabic as a foreign language. So a lot of our instructors went through that program. And so they're very aware of how to teach foreigners Arabic and specifically Americans Arabic. And a lot of them who are still going through that program are involved in the department. So some of them offer extra tutoring help and support. And I know that they're introducing like language partners as well. So the program itself has really been around for 60 years. It's very established and they have a lot of supports in place for you. So I would take advantage of all of that while you're there. But it's also a really great mix of an experience being at AUC because you have this beautiful campus. It's like 260 acres. It's green, which is a unique thing in the middle of Cairo. It's absolutely beautiful. And it has all those amenities I was talking about. Like you'll have an incredible gym, you'll have the library. It's a place you can relax. And then at any point, you can step out and really explore. So you get both. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, but we can stay in touch about this. This is great that you've already done all this planning, but I think, a good next step is for you to look through our catalog and kind of see the different programs we offer, for us to think more seriously about mechanical engineering and maybe get you some syllabi that you might need.
Yes.
And then once you have kind of some approvals on your side, our application process is pretty simple. Oh no, we lost someone. But yeah,
I can shoot you my email.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I can shoot you my email if that's all right.
Can you put it in the chat box?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'll be in touch. I'll send you a few links and then we can stay in touch over email. I'm happy to have another phone call as well. And there are all sorts of other links to things, activities happening in Cairo. So to give you an update for COVID. So when were you thinking of coming abroad? Next fall?
I was thinking, so yeah, like fall sophomore year. So a year from now, essentially.
Okay. So fingers crossed, travel is normal and everything is okay. To give you a sense, this fall we did go essentially fully online. We have like a few classes, including some in the sciences and engineering that have labs. Involve some in person, but for the most part, they're online. And very similar to a lot of campuses, we have social distancing even in the dorms. So everyone was required to live in a single room, for example. So little changes like that as restricted access, but Egypt hasn't been a hotspot for COVID this entire time. Knock on wood, we hope that things will continue to stay stable. But just in terms of travel, it actually is relatively easy. So, there's a straight flight from New York, there's a straight flight from DC. Otherwise, students usually go through Europe. As of now, you just have to show a negative PCR test as of 96 hours. So they are allowing travel to Egypt and hopefully that will continue normally as well. But we'll keep you updated. You have plenty of time. And we hope everything will be good. But Egypt it's really a once in a lifetime experience. And a lot of students, especially engineering students and science students, they don't think it's a possibility. And you might not be able to travel extensively in the region again in the future, given your career. So this is really a great time for you to explore such a huge country. The other thing I'm going to send you by email is we just held a study abroad alumni panel. And these are alumni who actually studied abroad with me, so 10 years ago, but they have 10 years worth of kind of reflection time. And one of them was an engineer. And so you might want to just hear some of his thoughts, and I can also share his contact information with you. He's a good friend of mine. And so he would be able to tell you what that might have been like. He took engineering classes, but then he also took classes in the humanities.
Okay, so it was like a mix.
Before, did not know any Arabic. So you have students who have all sorts of backgrounds. And the cool thing about AUC and Egypt is that we have fewer study abroad students than, let's say, London or Paris. So it makes for a pretty niche, adventurous group. So you're part of a really cool group of people who made an exciting step to come all the way to Egypt. You make some really great friends that way too. So
that sounds really cool.
Do you have other questions at this point? Just kind of initial, nothing is dumb. There's really anything, you can ask anything. I lived there for 10 years. I have family there. I'm very familiar with the country. So we can talk about that or academics, really up to you.
I guess like just a question I'm curious about is like, I play soccer and stuff. So like, I mean, I played in high school and stuff, but like, I don't know, what is the soccer team like, I guess? I mean, that's not a very specific question, but I saw it in the slide, so I was interested about that.
So we do have a competitive, we call it football.
Right,
we have a competitive football team, and I think there is also intramural. So take a look at the season. You said you would be there in the fall, so we can check to see if they would actually be playing competitive games and have a season. But either way, you'll be able to find pickup games for sure. And in itself, if you just want to train, also make sure you're training while you're there and not skipping a whole semester of that. There's a really incredible gym for that. But yes, definitely. And if nothing else, you'll definitely find people playing football. It's a very football loving country. And, hopefully you'd also be able to go to a game. As of now, there are no live audiences, but hopefully a year from now there would be. And you would find there's a very big cafe culture in Cairo. So you'll find that a lot of study abroad students will go out to cafes at night and hang out. And there's always going to be game on the TV. So you'll have a lot of outlets for that. But for sure, I would definitely pursue athletics. That's another really great way of meeting a completely different group of students. And I would also take advantage of, I said mini internships, but there are all sorts of ways. Like we have community-based learning classes in a few departments. So that means like if you wanted to take a political science class, kind of figure out like what's going on in Egypt. They had a revolution 10 years ago. It's all this interesting stuff happening. It's the biggest population in the region. There are a lot of political implications for that. And if you wanted to take that class, you could potentially spend a semester working with an international organization in Cairo. They like students who have English as something to offer as well for their work. You wouldn't necessarily get credit, but you could have some cool work experience. So there's all sorts of things like that that you get at a big university versus a smaller provider.
Yeah.
Are you looking at other options, or are you kind of set on this at this point?
I'm kind of there aren't a lot of other options, especially based off of like my major and stuff, because it's mechanical engineering. So I've been looking at the AUC, and then also the one in the Emirates, the UAE. I'm not sure, like I haven't been able to like meet with anybody from there, and that was the one that I had initially posed to the representative, and he had talked about how most ME majors who had gone there had taken basically just like electives and humanities credits and stuff. But like, I think, and I looked at the transfer equivalencies for that school and I didn't really see that many, but also like I was talking to somebody else and they were like, with a specialized case or something, you'd have to like petition essentially. And they would probably be able to like, especially with it being USA certified or accredited, they would be able to be accepted or passed.
Sure. I mean, the good thing about being in Egypt is that we're so central. Once you're over there, it's far from here, but once you're there, we're a really short flight from Dubai if you want to go to the Emirates. A lot of students will do that for potentially like a long weekend. In the fall, you do get Thanksgiving. You will have other small holidays. We do follow kind of like an American and an Egyptian calendar, so you get both double vacations, which is nice. And same thing goes for even Morocco. Is a little farther west, but people do that sometimes, or Tunisia, also Europe. So if you really wanted to go to Italy or Greece and everything is safe and you wanted to do that, you could potentially do that for a trip. That's in addition to all the trips and activities around Egypt. So it's, there's more to see in Egypt than in the UAE just because of its size and
Yeah,
history.
this is so big.
So it's a nice base, and then you could go to explore other places.
Yeah.
A lot of students do that. So you don't have to rule out anything yet. It's also a nice kind of way to ease into the Middle East simply because you're at AUC. So you're at an American institution that looks kind of familiar, but then you get to be in a completely new place.
Right.
So yeah, you don't have to think about all the questions now. You have a lot of time, but
Right.
I'm happy to stay in touch and go from there.
My last question. Oh, sorry, I just have one quick. So you talked about like the mini internships. Are those done like while students take classes, or is it like, I guess, just like a short overview of like how that goes, I guess?
Yeah, so it depends on the department. So for example, another one is like we have an on-campus startup incubator for small businesses, and a lot of those are actually like run by our alumni. And so you could potentially work with a startup the entire semester on campus, or if they have off-campus offices as well, and spend a whole semester learning about kind of international or social enterprise, but like, international business essentially.
Right.
Do that for a whole semester, and that would be in addition to your classes, but that could maybe be once a week. So it's kind of a case by case basis for someone who's only coming first semester, but I've heard from several department chairs that they're open to that idea. So if there's something, if you would want to get kind of work experience, we can talk about where in the university you could do that kind of thing. We also offer work study. It's not a lot of compensation, so I don't know if I would do it for the financial reasons. However, it might, allow you to be working in an office. If you were interested in student affairs, if you were interested even in athletics, there might be ways for you to do that a couple of hours a week as well.
Okay.
Something to think about.
Yes. Thank you so much. This has really helped a lot.
You're welcome. This is so exciting. Yeah, let's stay in touch. And anything else that comes up, feel free.